All right, diving in. Quick thing before we get going, though, just so everyone's on the same page.
Sure, lay it on us.
This deep dive, it might have some AI stuff in it, content-wise.
Oh, right, the disclaimer thing.
Exactly. It's all based on public info, and we try to give sources where we can,
Makes sense, transparency and all that.
but sometimes it's just not possible. So if anyone has questions, about what we're talking about,
Hit up 151 Collectables directly, right?
you got it. They're the experts, not the AI. Anyway, today, we're going deep into the Pokemon TCG world, or at least what the community's been saying about it.
Lots of chatter to sift through.
Forums, podcasts, you name it, you sent it. Our mission. Find the gems, the real takeaways, so you don't have to spend hours scrolling and listening.
Efficiency. I like it. So what are we looking at today?
Everything. Meta shifts, new products, how the market's doing, even some of the spicier discussions happening out there. Where should we even begin?
Well, the competitive scene is always a good place to start. The rotation, dropping V-stars and Vs seems to have really turned things on their head.
Oh, absolutely. Did you see that Milotic X and Furigraph X deck?
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere now. And it's not even using any of the new Journey Together cards. It's wild.
That's what's so interesting about it. It's all about using older cards in a completely new way.
Yeah.
The rotation basically opened up a whole new strategic space.
You're right. It makes you think, taking those powerful V cards out of the equation, it really seems to favor decks focused on, control and consistent damage.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Milotic and Furgiraffe shine. Their abilities, they're so protective, and their attacks are relentless. You can't just tech in one counter card and expect to be okay.
Right, like that one forum post said, trying to throw in a single counter, pointless. Not when the wall deck can just KO it and then keep taking prizes while they try to recover and reestablish it.
Ouch, sounds rough. So it's less about a quick fix and more about a completely different game plan now?
I wonder what this means for deck building moving forward. Will people shift towards attackers that are harder to take down, or maybe completely different ways to disrupt this strategy?
Good questions. It'll be fascinating to see how the meta evolves in response to this. Now, speaking of evolution, how about we shift gears a bit?
Yeah, let's step away from the battle arena for a second. What else did we find?
Well, the Pokemon Center in Japan is about to get a wave of new merchandise, all tied into the Pokemon TCG Pocket mobile game.
Oh yeah, the digital card app. I've dabbled in that. What kind of merch are we talking about?
Sacoche bags with that cool Pikachu X artwork, keychain hourglasses.
Keychain hourglasses. That's different.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Smartphone straps, card holders for your physical cards, zip pouches, the usual stuff. But the real standouts, at least from what I saw online, are the 3D paper theater versions of the cards.
I saw those. People are going crazy for them. It's like one person said, like those TikTok shorts that cut 10, 20 cards and surgically layer them on top of each other. Pretty cool.
They really capture that layered art style that's so popular right now. Smart move by the Pokemon Company.
Smart indeed. But here's the thing. Everyone's hoping it's not just merch. They're practically begging for these pocket card designs to make it into the actual playable TCG.
Oh yeah, the comments were full of that, like, just release the physical cards already, one person said.
Another one, he was like, I wonder if we'll ever get a TCG set with a pocket collab and then real versions of pocket cards adjusted for the real game, of course. It's a no-brainer for them, right?
Yeah.
The designs are awesome.
Absolutely. And think about it. It's a way to bridge the gap between the digital and physical, bring in new art, maybe even some new mechanics inspired by the Pocket game.
The possibilities are pretty exciting, I have to admit. Okay, but before we get too lost in hypotheticals, what else is the Pokemon Center kicking up?
A whopping 25 new TCG accessories. They're featuring a bunch of different Pokemon, from the classics like Mew and Caterpie to newer ones like Tyrantrum and Clodsire. Even Roaring Moon made the cut.
Wow, they're really going all out. And, that's smart. It appeals to everyone, from the hardcore players to the casual collectors who just want to show their love for a specific Pokemon.
For sure. Gotta cater to all those trainer styles.
Speaking of catering to fans, did you see the Team Rocket's Mewtwo Xbox dropping in June?
Oh yeah, that's gonna be huge. Team Rocket Mewtwo, it's like a nostalgia bomb. I'm already hearing the buzz online.
Same here. All right, let's shift gears again. Time to talk about the market. This is always a fun one.
Always interesting, that's for sure. What's the word on the street?
Well, good news for anyone looking to sell some graded cards. Arizona TCG, they're apparently buying up slabs. PSA, Beckett, CGC, you name it.
That's good to know. A healthy market needs active buyers, especially for those higher-end collectibles.
Absolutely. Now, remember that eternal collector's dilemma? How to complete a master set.
Ah, yes. The never-ending quest. What's the latest wisdom?
The advice was pretty solid, actually. Start with the more expensive cards. That way, even if you don't finish the whole set.
At least you've got some valuable singles.
Exactly. It makes so much sense. Prioritize those chase rares and hollows, the ones that everyone wants.
It's the smart play, especially if you're thinking about the long-term value of your collection. What else?
Well, there was some talk about those amazing rare PSA 10 collections. You remember those?
Oh yeah, the ones with the artwork extending beyond the frame. Visually striking.
Exactly. One collector, they were really eyeing them up, talking about how unique they are and how their value could go up.
Well, amazing rares, they definitely stand out. If you're a collector who appreciates that kind of aesthetic, a PSA 10 set could become pretty sought after.
Right. Especially in pristine condition. All right,
Mhm.
brace yourself, because we're about to enter the world of high-stakes trades.
Hit me with it.
So someone mentioned trading a bunch of raw E-series cards, like we're talking Hollow Sky, Expedition, Sky Ridge, the whole shebang.
Wow, serious vintage stuff.
Yep, and they were all in decent condition, like PSA 7 to 9 potential. They were looking to trade it all for, get this, about $2,000 worth of sealed prismatic and 151 product.
Interesting. So even with those high-grade E-series cards, they're more interested in the potential of sealed product.
Exactly. They even said they're a field collector.
Yeah.
It just shows you different strokes for different folks in this hobby. Some people love the thrill of the unknown, and others prefer the guaranteed value of a graded card.
No right or wrong way to collect, I guess, as long as you're enjoying it.
Totally agree. Okay, another trade scenario that caught my eye. 2 sealed Van Gogh Pikachu cards for a PSA 10 graded version. What do you think?
Tricky one. What are the raw cards going for these days?
About $330 to $350 each, so, not cheap. The PSA 10, around $750.
Okay, but here's the catch, and they mentioned this in the discussion. There are a lot of PSA 10s for that card out there, like 36,000.
Yeah, that definitely changes things. I think the general feeling was if your raw cards aren't absolutely perfect, you're probably better off taking the guaranteed PSA 10.
Makes sense. If there are tons of PSA 10s out there already, the premium you pay might not be worth the risk of grading yourself.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk about something that always sparks debate. Those massive box openings. The streamers who open hundreds, sometimes even thousands of packs.
Oh yeah, the ones that make your wallet cry a little.
Exactly. One streamer, they apparently opened like 1,000 boxes of Paradox Rift. It's crazy. But the interesting thing is, people were saying it wouldn't really affect the market that much.
Well, yeah, for modern sets, especially with higher print runs, the market can usually absorb that kind of influx without too much price fluctuation. It's different for older, rarer sets, though.
Right. When the supply is already limited, those big openings can definitely make a splash.
For sure.
Now, for anyone thinking about buying raw cards to grade, there's some good advice floating around. Focus on super clean raw cards that could possibly grade a 10. It's all about weighing the potential profit against the risk of getting a lower grade.
Classic risk-reward scenario. But you have to be realistic. Even a card that looks perfect to you might not get a 10.
True. The grading process can be a bit of a mystery sometimes.
A little bit.
Speaking of mysteries, the Super Premium Collection release, the SPC, remember that?
Oh yeah, the one where the Pokémon Center website basically melted down.
Pretty much. The demand was insane. They said the queues were hitting like 500,000 people.
Yeah.
So many people missed out. It's no wonder everyone's talking about bots.
Yeah, that's a major issue in the hobby right now. It's frustrating when legitimate fans can't even get their hands on products because of bots.
Absolutely. And then there's the whole thing about the Pokémon Center website blocking people who type too fast during checkout. I mean, come on.
Right. That's just asking for trouble. It punishes the real buyers while the bots probably sail right through.
So frustrating. Okay, let's talk about those Pokémon Center exclusive promos, the ones with the special stamp. They always cause a stir.
They do. Which one's got everyone talking now?
The Obsidian Flames Elite Trainer Box, the Pokémon Center version. People are paying like $300 to $400 for them.
Wow. I guess that begs the question, is it better to buy sealed ETBs and try to grade the promo yourself, or just buy the graded card outright?
Right. It's a tough call. There's a lot less graded supply than sealed product, but the risk is obviously higher if you go the grading route.
It all depends on your risk tolerance, I guess, and your confidence in your grading skills, or your wallet, if you're paying someone else to grade.
True. And speaking of grading, people were talking about how much work goes into getting those high grades, like a black label from Beckett. They were using a graded Articuno X as an example.
Yeah, those high grades are no joke. You need a near-perfect card and a whole lot of patience.
No kidding. And then there's a whole other category of one-of-one cards and error cards. Those are always interesting.
Interesting and unpredictable. The value can be so subjective, it really depends on the specific card and who's looking to buy it.
So true. Okay, this is a bit of a brain teaser. Someone was saying that if a Pokemon Center ETB sells for around $300 and it has an exclusive promo, getting that promo graded and getting a PSA 10 might make a pre-graded PSA 10 version kind of pointless.
Interesting point. If the sealed product's relatively affordable and the promo has a good chance of grading well, it could definitely undercut the value of the pre-graded ones.
Especially with so many people opening packs, the supply of PSA 10s could go up.
Yeah, exactly. It's something to keep in mind.
For sure. Oh, and speaking of PSA 10s, apparently there's a growing trend of collectors trying to get every single Pokemon Center exclusive stamped promo in PSA 10.
Wow, that's ambitious. But I can see the appeal.
Right. And if you're early to the game, while there are still relatively few graded examples, you might be able to snag some good deals.
Definitely a potential opportunity for savvy collectors.
Now, here's a little tidbit about where to find different kinds of cards. Binder copies, the ones most people use for their collections, those are usually found at vendor shows and local events.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's all about that in-person browsing experience.
Exactly. But if you're looking for graded cards, online marketplaces like TCG Player are where it's at. Different platforms for different segments of the community.
Makes sense. It's all about finding the right avenue for what you're looking for.
Unfortunately, not everything in the hobby is sunshine and rainbows. People were sharing stories about PSA misgradings, which is never fun.
Ugh, yeah, that's always a bummer. It just goes to show, even with expert grading, there's always going to be some subjectivity.
It's true. Okay, time to talk about the elephant in the room, pre-orders for the new Destined Rivals set. They're going for crazy prices on eBay, like $374 to $440.
Yikes. That's way above retail. It's all speculation and FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah, it makes it really tough for collectors who just want to open packs and enjoy the set. And to make matters worse, getting pre-orders from official sources is like winning the lottery. Websites crashing, queues that go on forever, it's a mess.
Yeah, the Pokemon Company definitely needs to work on their infrastructure for handling these big releases. It's not fair to the fans.
Right. One person even said they wouldn't pay more than $600 for a booster box, and honestly, I can't blame them.
There's definitely a limit to how much people are willing to pay, even for the most hyped sets.
Absolutely. So what's the solution? Well, some people are saying the Pokemon Company needs to print more cards.
That seems logical, but it's not that simple. They have to strike a balance, right? Print enough to meet demand, but not so much that they flood the market and devalue everything.
Yeah, it's a tightrope walk. And at the end of the day, people just want to enjoy opening packs and building their collections without breaking the bank.
Right, the fun should always come first.
Speaking of fun, everyone's still super hyped for the upcoming Team Rocket set.
Oh yeah, Team Rocket, always a crowd pleaser.
Nostalgia's a powerful force. By the way, have you checked out the Collector app? It's a lifesaver for managing my collection.
Yeah, I use it too. Especially the Pro version. Being able to scan cards is so convenient.
Right, it saves so much time. Okay, remember the Prismatic Evolution set?
The one that initially went through the roof, price-wise, and then kind of settled down.
Yeah, that one. Well, apparently it was all because of their release strategy. They didn't release all the product at once, which made it seem super rare at first.
The artificial scarcity tactic.
Yeah.
It works, but it can also backfire.
Exactly. Journey Together, on the other hand, seems to have been a big hit. People were loving the hit rates and the partner Pokemon theme. They even said, I like what they did with Journey Together. I love the partner Pokemon. I love the hit rates. I think it was the perfect set after Prismatic.
It's good to hear they got something right after the Prismatic situation. A happy community is a good community.
Totally. Oh, and Obsidian Flames. All about the Charizards, of course.
Of course. When is it not about Charizard? They could release a set with 10 different Charizards and it would still sell out.
Probably true.
Yeah.
But even the smaller cards are seeing some movement. There was this near mint build and battle kit promo card that went up to over $2 recently.
Interesting. It's a good reminder that every card has its own little microeconomy happening.
It's true. Now let's talk reprints. Evolving Skies is a prime example of a set that everyone wants. But the booster boxes haven't been reprinted. They did reprint the Elite Trainer boxes, but not the boosters, which makes them super valuable now.
Yeah, if you're holding on to sealed Evolving Skies booster boxes, you're probably sitting pretty right now.
No kidding. And then there's Evolution. which seems to defy all logic. Even with reprints, the value just keeps going up. One person said, "You can't keep a good set down no matter how much they print." Evolution should have been the end-all be-all to that statement.
Some sets are just timeless, I guess. The cards are great, the artwork is iconic, it's a winning formula.
On the flip side, there are those older sets that haven't aged so well, even some that are still sealed and going for around $2,000 a box.
Yeah, but those are usually more about the nostalgia factor, right? The sealed product itself is the collectible, not necessarily the cards inside.
Exactly. Someone said, "There's literally no value." Like, that's another thing people convince themselves to, is the card value doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, there must be a grading play." No, there's no grading play either.
Yeah.
No, there's literally no value to be had by opening that box or grading the cards. And so it really trips people up onto why it's valuable then. It's just the seal nature of the product.
It's good to be aware of those distinctions. Not every old box is a gold mine.
For sure. Now, this is a bit of a hot topic, but people are talking about scalping and whether we might see regulations like those being proposed for concert tickets.
Interesting comparison. But concert tickets are limited, right? You can't just print more seats. Trading cards, that's a different story.
Exactly. One podcast host said, like, you have a limited space. It's not like you can print more seats.
Yeah.
But if you've got a booster box, like with Pokemon, for example, Pokemon can print as much as they want. So if there are going to be regulations, they'll probably focus more on the distributors and how they allocate product rather than individual resellers.
Yeah, it's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It is. But hey, there's a lot to be optimistic about, too.
Yeah.
The Pokemon franchise is a juggernaut. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. I mean, look at Looney Tunes, Harry Potter, Star Wars. These things endure, and Pokemon is right up there with them.
Absolutely. The future is bright for the TCG, even with all the challenges. Oh, and a word of warning about Pokemon Bulk. It's not as lucrative as it might seem.
No. Why is that?
Apparently, it's a lot of work for very little payoff. The sell-through rate is way lower than something like Magic, the Gathering Bulk, where people are apparently snapping it up. One source said, the sell-rough rate on Magic is like 5 to 1. Like, it sells so much faster, comparably.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, too, with the way the prices are. So if you're thinking of diving into the bulk game, be prepared for a grind.
Good to know. Better to stick with what you enjoy, right?
Definitely. Okay, last few things. People are trying to figure out whether enhanced or standard booster boxes are more likely to see reprints. But there's no clear pattern from the Pokemon Company. They're keeping us guessing.
They like to keep things interesting.
That they do. Chilling Reign, remember that set?
Yeah, what about it?
Apparently it was a bit overhyped. One podcast host was saying, I would argue that it's actually the other way around. For the longest time, Chilling was, I'm not saying it's overvalued, but I think that people hyped it up too much. It goes to show sometimes the initial buzz doesn't last.
It's all about the long game in this hobby.
Word. Oh, and this should go without saying, but read the product descriptions before you buy anything online. You'd be surprised how many people get burned because they don't do that.
Due diligence, always.
Yeah.
A good rule for life in general, I think.
Truth. Now, this is a hot tip. If you find Pokemon products at a 20% discount or more, buy them.
Really? That good of a deal?
Apparently, it's almost a guaranteed flip. In this
Yeah.
market, anything below retail is a steal. One source said, anything in this hobby at 20% or more of a discount, that means you can immediately flip it and sell it for all of your money back and then some after fees and everything. That's always going to be a buy. Always.
Yeah.
You can usually resell them for at least MSRP, if not more.
Nice. Got to keep an eye out for those deals.
You do. Okay, quick correction. Destined Rivals will not have an enhanced booster box, so if you see any listings claiming that, they're wrong.
Good to know. Thanks for the heads up.
No problem. And speaking of things we don't know, the Pokemon Company is notoriously unpredictable when it comes to product variations. Like, some TCGs have box toppers, but Pokemon, they do their own thing.
Keeps us on our toes, that's for sure.
No kidding. Oh, and this is a funny story. Fusion Strike, when it first came out, it kind of flopped. But then, over time, the value went way up.
Really? That's wild. What caused that?
No one really knows for sure. Sometimes the market just does its own thing. It's a good reminder that what's hot today might be even hotter tomorrow.
Or ice cold.
True. Last but not least, if you're sitting on a huge collection and thinking about selling, you have two options. Trade it all in for a lump sum or sell individual cards.
Tough choice. What are the pros and cons?
Well, trading in is fast and easy, but you probably won't get as much money as you would selling individually. The problem is, selling individually takes a ton of time and effort.
So it comes down to how much time you have and how much you value your time.
Exactly. Oh, and someone brought this crazy hypothetical. What if distributors sold Destined Rivals booster boxes for $200 at release?
Wow, that would be a game changer. It really highlights how inflated the prices are right now on the secondary market.
No kidding. And finally, a little history lesson. There was this one XY era set that did terribly. Like, after 10 years, it was only worth around $500. But then they compared that to modern sets like Surging Flames and PAL Evolved, which have the potential to skyrocket in value over the same time period. One podcast host speculated, I don't see why not a set like Surging, which is going to be one of the top performing. And so same with PLA. You couldn't get there in the next 10 years. So yeah, the lesson here is choose your sets wisely.
Past performance is not indicative of future results, but knowing the history definitely helps inform those decisions.
Absolutely. Wow, we have covered a lot of ground today. From competitive play to new products to market trends to collector drama, it's been a whirlwind.
A very informative whirlwind, though.
I hope so. We tried to hit all the highlights, give you a good sense of what's going on in the world of the Pokemon TCG.
It's a fascinating world, that's for sure. Always something new to learn.
So true. Now, for everyone listening, think about what resonated with you most today. Were you surprised by anything? Did any of the discussions spark any new ideas for your own collecting journey?
Here's something to ponder. With the digital and physical worlds of the Pokemon TCG becoming increasingly intertwined, what will that mean for the future of collecting? Will value shift? Will new